CJ Philly says, imagine this is the deepest team in terms of top to bottom talent since the late 2000s. Which position group do you think will surprise us positively? And on the flip side, which do you think might disappoint slightly next season? I'm going to throw this out here. Quarterback might disappoint you because the position is hard and there's going to be growing pains. We think we know what Drew Aller is going to be, but we don't know that yet. I would like to see what he's good at, where he, what the little snippets of, okay, maybe that isn't the thing I'm excited to see him do in terms of maybe his footwork times under pressure. It gets a little wobbly. Is that a consistent problem or is it not a consistent problem? We don't know yet, but just based on percentages, to me, that's the position where Penn State fans have the easiest cliff to fall off of in terms of being disappointed because he's not the guy that is going to turn into Trevor Lawrence in his first season. So that's kind of my opening salvo on that question. Do you have a positive one that you would say maybe it will be a little bit better than you expect?
Quarterback, but I already have. I think I have realistic expectations. I don't think they're diminished. I just think it's very obvious what's like going to happen this year, right? Is you need Drew Aller and his wide receivers who don't have an established like star. Can Keandre be that? I think he can. Mm-hmm. But has he been that in the past? He hasn't really had that opportunity. So it's big. It's like there are unknowns there in the passing game that I think defenses are rightfully going to test. Right. So any team that has that feels confident in its pass defense going in man coverage, I think is going to create challenges for Penn State's running game. Like that to me is okay. You saw what Singleton and Katron did last year. Like they're good. They are good, legit good. What happens when there's 9 guys who, right? When they don't have numbers, when there's not, when teams are just going to say, hey, you are not going to beat us. Like Nick, you're not going to run for an 80-yard touchdown on us. It's not going to happen. We're going to do everything in our power to make sure that doesn't happen. I think there are going to be some tough games ahead. You already saw it. They already had some of those games last season when that same thing happened.
Illinois, I believe, is returning a top 5 defensive line in the country, according to multiple outlets. I mean, that's I'm circling that as like that's a bigger game than you might imagine.
Totally. I'm a firm believer, not in Illinois being like awesome, but in this just goes. I mean, I'm never going to let this go. In the 21 Illinois loss not being a bad loss, like not being the tragic loss that it was made out to be. That was an okay Illinois team that did the one thing, and Brett Bielema will continue to do this. Right. They are going to give some teams fits, and if you don't have the elixir, the answer to what they do to you defensively, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah. So Michigan was a college football playoff team, and they struggled to beat them. I think that might have been at home too, where that's just going to be a team that's a tough out. We'll see about their secondary because I think that is the biggest wild card. Of they send a ton of guys and a ton of talent to the NFL. So can Illinois reload in certain positions? I'm fascinated to find out about that, which is why. Coming back to it, my point about like if Drew Aller struggles in that game where he has to do a little bit more in his third game. I wouldn't be surprised if there are some struggles there and people go, wait a minute, I thought he was a 5-star talent. And you know, there's a little bit of a disappointment there from the quarterback, which is not to say it's his fault. But Nate, I got one more thing from the chat because this is important to me that you get your love on the channel. David says, I didn't realize how much I missed Nate until he finally came back. Nate, I feel the same way. Appreciate you coming back and spending a little extra time talking to us on the BWI Live show.
We got a super chat that we should take from Robert here. Do you see this?
Here we go. I did not see that. Thank you.
We got to recognize the super chat. Thanks, Rob.
Thanks for getting that in on under the wire, and thanks for seeing that, Nate. Who do you expect to help Drew the most? Running backs or wide receivers? Thanks for the long form show. That's a hard question. I would say the running backs. I think the threat of the running game is going to open things up and make it easier for the quarterback.
And I'm gonna. Of course, I'm going to go curveball. I think the offensive line, honestly. I think the offensive line will be an asset to him where he's not consistently under duress. And if you have that, and then you have the pieces around you where he can make decisions, like actually make decisions and use those instincts and make those throws, I think that positions him really well to have success. I always go back to, what are the conditions that a guy has to succeed in? And if the conditions are you're constantly under duress, I don't care who it is, you're just probably not going to do very well. And so that, I think, is a huge piece of this.